Hello, everybody, and welcome to a riveting story. It's a story that is about textiles, but it also weaves in travel, war, displacement, innovation, patronage, the glittering pomp of royalty, and an international imagination. And you know what it results in? In what we are wearing today. This is the Sungudi. Actually, it's now known as Madurai Sungudi, but it didn't start in Madurai. It started thousands of miles in the north, actually to the northwest. And here with me to tell us about the story, to amplify details, is textile expert and revivalist Sreemathy Mohan. Now, we're both in Sungudi saris. Hers is called, I think we can call it biscuit, but I think the weavers call it Chevare, which is the red banana, the red plantain. As you can see, it's not red, but these are the colors that the weavers give. And this is Katri Poo. So this is actually what we may call violet, right? And it doesn't seem to be an Indian color, but it is. And a darker version would be called the aubergine or the katrika, right? So a lot of colors and dyes in the Indian textile tradition come from names of vegetables and plants. Right. But we're coming back to the Sungudi. Now, it's such an amazing story of a migration of a community from Saurashtra, which is in Gujarat. And the migration was there through central India, and they finally ended up in Madurai. So, tell us about how that happened and how that amazing journey happened.
Yeah.
And why it happened.
India was well known for its pattern textiles. So if you see the patterning of textiles in India, we have very famous patterns like ikat, leheria, tie and dye, which is a resist dyed method, which is being used in lot of states, especially Gujarat and in the north, Rajasthan. So that is where the base of the Saurashtrian weavers is. So when we talk about the migration of these people, the first factual record for us is in inscription in 5th century BC from Mandsaur, when a group of silk weavers located in Gujarat moved to a place called Daspura. So these weavers were basically, they came in on the invitation of a king, and then later on when the Mohammedan invasion happened, they scatter all over the place. Some of them go back to Gujarat, some of them go back to Daulatabad, and some of them actually, lot of them migrate to the south, and that is how they come to the Vijayanagara kingdom. And they were in Krishnadevaraya's time, and then later on during 16th and 17th centuries, they moved down to Salem, Marni, Kumbakonam, Tanjavur, and finally to Madurai.
Where Tirumala Nayak in the 17th century invited them. So in a sense, what you're saying is that the community migrated where patronage invited them. So would you say that they served the royalty and the nobility first? And so were they working in silk?
Yeah.
And tasseling?
Yeah.
And I think that you mentioned in an earlier conversation that they were also very good at tasseling of turbans.
Yeah.
Right?
Very correct.
Yes. And did they also trade in like diamonds? Were they also that was also part of their business? Yeah. So you're talking of an extremely enterprising, hardworking, and I would say a very resilient community, having to pack up and move all the time. So when they finally came to Madurai, because we are talking of the Madurai Sungudi is what we know the textile as, how did cotton happen? How did the process get transferred to cotton cloth?
So when you look at the community per se, the first question I'll answer about the weavers who migrated. So basically, if you see the weavers, they were actually, most of them were soldiers too. The connect is basically they were all a part of the merchant guilds. Yeah. The merchant guild is a very powerful platform for all these people, because they control the ports, they control the luxury items which are given to the king, like silks and diamonds and all that. So this you see again in Tamil Nadu, there is a weaver inscription. They talk about merchant guilds like Manigramam, Ainur Irvar, Aihole inscription talks about that. So these are all the merchant guilds which were very active, and weavers were a very much, they were, because they were very rich also. So they were a very dominant community within the guild. So, and this guild actually has connections with Gujarat, because that was the port, right? And Saurashtra and all that.
Yes.
So these were the warrior merchants who had all these things. They also knew weaving. They also knew agriculture. This is the community we are talking about, and these came to the migratory part down here. So, but when they come here, it is basically their local indigenous power is what brings them. Like if you go into a Tulu community, or probably if you're serving Krishna Devaraya, he wanted them just for tasseling his red turban, and they used to make his red veshti, right? And when 17th century, when they come in, Tirumala Nayakar actually, it's in 1635, Tirumala Nayakar comes to Madurai. The first one is he transfers the capital from Trichy to Madurai. During that time, when the weavers come, they are given special place in the streets called Thirumadai Valagam. So they have long rows where they can put the power and all that. And so the tie and dye happens for the queens. The tie and dye comes in for the queens. So they are very good in dyeing, and the women were good in tying. So they just brought a combination of both these things in Madurai. But what is unique about Madurai is, it's not just tie and dye. You have a beautiful karai. That karai is the one which highlights the sari.
You're talking of the border.
The border. It is called as Kattichayam, Madurai Kattichayam. So Madurai Kattichayam is very different from, say for example, a bandage guy doing a border, because they put rubber band and do it in the north. Here they have a kattai, literally a block, which is cut, and the way they tie both the ends of the borders, and it's clamped basically, and then the pallu is also done. So it is a very, very different form, and if you ask the Khatris about our clamp dyeing, they cannot replicate it. And these people can't replicate that rubber band technique.
So tell me, this is something that I read, and you can of course correct me, that all the dots, because it's sort of different kinds of dots, that it is inspired by the constellation of the stars in the sky, and it says that the knots were also inspired by the way women knotted their hair. So is there something to that I read? Or it is just imagination flourishing?
Flourishing, yeah. Okay. So basically, if you look at the word per se, Sungudi, it was called Chunadi in Gujarati. So the Saurashtrian actually have a Gujarati dialect.
Yes.
So this is Sungudi means Sunna means dot. That's all. So it is a ringed dot, and it can be, the inspiration comes from everywhere for us, right? It's not just the constellation alone. You look left, right and center, nature, that is your inspiration, probably, yes. But when you see the dots, they have something called Ottapulli.
Like yours are slightly more geometric in that sense, like edges almost square, and mine is a set of 3 dots.
Yeah, it
like
is a ring dot. It is a ring dot.
Ring dot.
Ring dot.
Okay.
So, so it is not just the Kattichayam alone. It is not the Kattu Sungudi alone, which means Madurai Sungudi. It has a wider acceptance. Even the metal ringed dots, that is called as the wax printed Sungudi.
Okay. Could it be that because of the very hot climate in South India, that cotton became the preferred base?
Of course.
For this, yes?
Madurai Arupakota is the belt for cotton.
Okay.
That is where you get the best of the cottons in Tamil Nadu.
So the community adapted, you think, what they had of their technique and the fabric that was available.
Yeah.
Now there is something about, there is a red, right? When you say, you normally go to the color red when you talk Sungudi. That's the first memory of anybody who's familiar with that particular weave. So how did that red color come about?
This is a name given by the British Gazetteers in 1906 in their book. So if you see the manual of 1906, the Madura Gazetteer, it gives a lot of information like who were there. The Saurashtrians controlled the entire market, and they had their best of the yarns imported then, and they would export it to Madras. All this are documented very well, and they would.
So they would import from where?
Imported from abroad. European yarns were imported, and if even now, if you see, Madurai is very well known for its mills.
Yes.
Right, most of the mills are in Madurai, because I believe that the Vaigai river had a very nice composition to it, that they get the best of the whites.
Oh,
even
so
Nalli Chettiar once has told me that always the Madurai mills la panna white color is always 10 rupees more.
Okay.
So that white came from the river. Like each of the river has its color, right? Like Bagh has its like copper thing. That is why you get the reds and blacks very well. So coming back to the Madura red. So this is where the British has documented something called a Madura red. So it is not what was Madura red. So this always this dyeing recipe is like a cook recipe. Like you add so much and you cook for so much hours, and then you get this color.
Okay.
So Madurai was already established for its best of the yarns and best of the techniques, and they used to make the gold lace. The Musalmans were very good in lace. All this are very factual from the 1906 Gazetteer only. So all of them came together, and then when they also did the pre-dyed yarn. So what did they do in Madura Red is basically it's basically treating the yarn, right? So how do you treat the yarn? That is how you get the output of a natural dye. So the white yarns used to be soaked in a ware or a root called umiri.
Okay.
So they used to put this umiri and put it and stir it in cold water, and then it'll lie there for 2 days. Wash it in Vaigai, it'll become white. Even now, the first process is taking out the grey. The white sari is called the grey, and then they have to bleach the sari to get it. So then after that, they add gingerly oil, nallenna.
Yeah.
Again, the same thing which is prepared for telia rumal and all that.
Yes.
This is very indigenous. So they soak it in that, and then that is basically a moderating factor which will help the yarn to get more dye. So then they add all these beautiful che root, which gives that madder color, and on top of it they added the German alizarin imported. That was, and they would cook for like 2 hours and then leave it and wash it in Vaigai water, and there you get the pre-dyed yarn. So it was Madurai Red was a pre-dyed yarn in red.
And there's that lovely reference to women walking down the road and all looking like a cluster of red beetles. Tell me about that reference.
Oh, that was actually like, it's like connecting the dots literally.
Yes.
Okay, so when we read this Amukta Malyada,
Yes, yes.
So the work of Krishna Deva Raya. So the Krishna Deva Raya's story starts only from Madurai when he sees Vishnu Chitta before going to Srivilliputturu, right? So he refers that all these beautiful Madurai women, when they evening they wear the best of the red saris, and they adorn themselves with the white flowers, probably Madurai Mali, so the
jasmine.
best of the jasmines, and when they walk down, and when you see them from a distance, they look like small ants with their eggs, and then going away because they're afraid of the monsoon. It's just reference. It's like, my God, what a coincidence of this Madura Red and Madurai Malli which can come into this.
Yes. So Krishna Deva Raya, just for our viewers, was a 16th century monarch of Vijayanagaram, and the work that she's referring to, Amukta Malyada, is what he has authored. It's a story of the beloved Tamil saint poet Andal, and in that is where the reference of the women, all dressed in Madurai red and walking together in the evenings with the jasmine in their hair. So would this be a typical Madurai red?
Close to it. Close to it.
Yes, close to it. And so basically, when you talk of Sungudi, this is a tie and dye. So if you have to reduce it to how do you describe it as a fabric, it's a tie and dye. And what were the original colors that were available in in depth before. Now we have a plethora of colors. I mean, not too many, but still many more than what we have. So I remember a white with red. I remember a red. So what were the original colors and what were the organic colors that that the Sungudi was originally made in?
See, India was well known for its dyeing.
Yes.
The colors, the spectrum of dyeing was only two colors. The basic colors which no one made in Western, that was Lal and Kal. Lal was the red, Kal was the black. Black was made from iron. No one will know how to make a Kal out of jaggery and all that. Aduthan karuppu. Karuppuna karuppu. So then red was the che root, which was the Coromandel course, the favorite one. Of course, now in natural dyes, you don't get the same shades always. There's always a challenge, right, in this. But we were known for these colors. And I will show you, since you told me about the white and red, this is the reverse dyeing which was practiced once upon a time, where, can you see?
Is this an old sari?
Will you believe that the sari was dyed in red?
Okay.
Knotted. And then this part is done in white. You know how difficult it is? It is not like white, you put a red color print or wax print or a screen print, something like this. Here, can you see the bleeding effect? This was dyed fully in red and then knotted. That is why you get this red dots. This art is lost in Madurai, but the bandage guys can do it. This I did as a sample, but they are very good in resist dyeing. They really, it calls for a lot of, they couldn't figure out how they did it.
How many days or weeks does it take to make one sari?
The processing, salava pandradunu.
Yeah.
And aduke under 2 days. They have to remove all the starch, then they have to put the tinopol to brighten it up. Depends on all the nature and all. 2 days.
Tell me quickly. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks to make one sari. Do they put 3 saris on the weft? No. Just one sari at a time.
Basically, the base sari is ready when they go in for tying and dyeing.
Yeah.
So then the sari is given to the artisan, and then they make the designs. They make the cut.
They do it one by one.
One by one. Each and everything. So when you actually see a bandage, this is like a group activity. Like in Rajasthan or Gujarat, if you see, there's a community which holds it together. And the Kuttu Kudumbam, and it's lost here. Even now, that is, nimble hands, children work on the bandage. That is why you get all these small dots in Gujarat and Rajasthan. They use a lot of other things like rai, or channa dal, everything, whatever you can put it in marble, everything. But here in Madurai, they have a very unique method of marking. They don't have this, like for example, a mirror imaging or something. It is drawn, like, they draw the markings. It is marked and then tied.
It
takes a lot of time.
With a thread?
Okay. It's like poo cutter.
Okay.
Poo cutter, the tying itself is different.
Okay.
When you observe the artisans in Gujarat and Rajasthan, their way of tying is like different.
Okay.
They use a nail and then they tie it and all that. These people do it. That is why the cut is square and big. And it's like a signature. Like now I'm like trained, I can see which artisan has done it. Because the cut is like at least like a signature.
It's like a signature. Okay, what are the other saris you have?
So this is the one I told you, and this is the block printing. So Kaikata is not the only one which is being practiced in Madurai.
This is what I'm wearing.
This is that's very similar, but this is the Mukkatti.
Okay.
The 3 dots. So basically, the difference in Madurai Sungudi is they just use, they don't use the wooden blocks.
Okay.
There is a metal rim to it. If you notice very carefully, the metal rim is put in wax, put here, and then it is inverted in Vaigai river. So it is Vaigai river sand. They'll have a bed of the sand on which. So it acts as a resist, and then once the wax solidifies, they'll put it into a tub to dye it, and once the dye gets in, they'll put it into hot water to remove the wax.
Okay.
So that is how the wax print happens.
Wow. And you have one more to show us?
Yeah, this is now what this is now what has taken the market. This is a screen print. You will never know this is a screen print, because screen is just usually a big, like a kind of stencil which goes in, and then they put it and they just rub this white color, so the white gets onto it. So that is why you get very cheap varieties.
So if
People
this
don't
is
know.
screen print, how much would this be in rupees?
Screen print saris are available from 800 rupees.
800 rupees. And this is how much?
This is around 1300 or 1400, because this base sari is a better one.
Okay, the base cloth. And so what you're wearing and what I'm wearing are of course special saris, so obviously far more expensive.
Handloom, 100 count.
100 count handloom, handmade. So, so when a good Sungudi sari today, when you say an original or a good Sungudi sari, will cost about how much?
Easily more than 12,000.
12,000 rupees. So when you're looking at a 12,000 rupee sari and you're looking at something that's cotton, one has to understand its history, one has to understand the entire process, and one has to appreciate the craft and the attention and the detail. So you're actually holding or wearing a piece of history.
Yeah.
Yes?
See, the main thing is
12,000 rupees. Yeah, you could get a silk sari for that.
you know how many people touch the Sungudi? 33 people, right from weaving till the time it comes onto your hand. About 30 to 33 people touch the sari. Like when you go and buy a bandage sari, they'll give you a ball. Right?
Yes, yeah.
It's your problem. Go take it out. Okay, that's fine, right? So if they do it, it's like even if you tear the sari, it's okay with them. But in Sungudi, they will never do that. So Sungudi is when they knot it and they painfully take out everything, starch it out, then they put it on Vaigai River or whatever, and they put starch. Finally, it comes to you after 6 or 7 times after it's washed. You can wash it at home. Like in bandage, what happens is, it's very fast color. Sometimes when you wear a blue, you look like Krishna when you wear it, right? After that.
Yes.
So that will never happen in a good Sungudi. I mean, if they follow all these, that is why you pay a price for the dyes used, for the craft behind. All that is very, very important to understand.
Would you say, because we are talking now about guilds, which means families, now a lot of the next generation are not following in their families' traditions. This is across disciplines. So what do you think is the future of Sungudi? Because it's, for those of us who love it, we know its value. But since it's cotton, do you think that there's a tendency to sort of devalue it? Like to consider it very ordinary?
See, that is because of the screen printing and wax printing. If a sari is available for like say 600 rupees, why would you pay so much to get a kai cut if you don't understand what goes behind? But one of the problems in Madurai, what I saw was because this will never tear. This sari, when a mom gives it to you, you will be using it for like 10 years as nappies, as something. It'll not even one shred will go waste. There is no sample for old saris. That is the problem when we try to find all these. So yes, there are a lot of people who understand the value. Like for example, in Andhra, Kerala and South, people really understand what a cotton means, what a good cotton means. They don't mind spending 15k or 20k for a nice bandage in cotton. That is what my understanding is after 4 years. I thought it is a tough market, but people do understand.
So what do you think can be done? Can this 6 yards of fabric, can it be can we have designers have interventions, not for the weaving, but can they make fashion out of it? Definitely. Can we do things out of the Sungudi?
They have to.
They have to. So you feel that it's a market ripe for that kind of the next step, to take it to the younger generation, maybe tote bags or tablecloths or napkins or
anything,
household linen, cushion covers. Okay, because if you say that it never tears, then that itself is reason enough to have something that is cotton, climate friendly, organic, and also something that speaks about Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu.
Yes, I'm from Madurai, so
yeah, I know.
there is
Madurai and
Aruppukkottai.
Madurai, Aruppukkottai, and the Kurai Nadu cottons. Why did they choose cottons for weddings? Is basically after the wedding, it will go as a cradle. it had that touch.
Tuli.
That tuli.
The cloth cradle. Yes, yes, of course.
So that connect is always there, right? So and I think it's we have a lot of NIFT students and all. I mean, because the ready to wear segment is a different one. You have to understand what the season wants and what moves well. It's a different ball game altogether.
But fashion has become a $1 billion industry, and social media has played a great role in popularizing many techniques, especially in textiles. And Sreemathy, you know that during the lockdown, people were buying saris. There was a boom. I mean, even in your own business. So, would you say that for Sungudi, do you feel that for you, are you seeing greater movement, a greater interest, more purchasing, more people buying?
I think it's basically there are a lot of people who are doing good work. And from my side, I work on the design intervention part, like, what colors can look good. It may not be that old colors, like pastels have come in a good way. Like people like pastels, people like some of these colors cannot be replicated in a Sungudi. In a Kaikatta, you have only a small spectrum. Like I can't have a green border. It doesn't come. Like you have to understand what works well in that particular thing. That has been the learning for 4 years. I mean, it's not just like putting one sari. It is the 200 failures which we have gone behind the sari. So
and I love the way that this pink is just called rose milk.
Rose milk, yeah.
Like that's what we used to have when we were young. It was not my favorite drink.
I know.
But it is a very pretty color, close to Barbie pink.
Yeah,
not quite, but close to Barbie pink. Any other thoughts?
So, so basically, these people, the Saurashtrian people locally, they have a huge market right now. The Madurai cottons is a huge hit. With lot of people in Madurai cottons is ordinary kattam saris. The zari cottons are sold as Sungudis. Only if you have a dot, it is a Sungudi. Otherwise, it's not called a Sungudi. But it's okay. You have a market there. But the whole idea is, the second generation is not taking up. That is very true. That is very true in any other thing. But there are certain people who have taken this virtually onto a global platform. This is just a local art which needs a global recognition. Like, for example, how Christian Dior did the Palum Palmum Kattam dress. If somebody makes like that, I think Madurai will have its own glory.
Well, the costumes for my Andal work is in Sungudi.
Wow.
We are all in Sungudi.
Oh my God.
So,
no, did you know that? That is from Kalakshetra. Atte used to wear for Kutrala Kuruvanji.
Yes.
The original Kutrala Kuruvanji was Sungudi with the Kili border.
Yes.
The frills and Kili border.
Yes, I have seen it.
Even now, when in a wedding, when they come in, they have a beautiful piece of a migratory story which is being retold again and again. That is called as the Baulas Solradhu.
So they tell the story.
They tell the story of where they originated from. They will say, God, we came from Saurashtra, Surya was my god, I came here, this is my whole thing, I went to Tirupati, I went to all this. They weave a story out of this. And even now they have something called as a mang, like a blend of, that is in the mang tikka.
Yeah,
it's called a mang. So next day, when they make this groom and the bride make the groom makes an salt elephant. They draw Nalangamari. So and she makes a parupu elephant, and they say that this uppu is from Saurashtra, and then she says this is from Gujarat, and so what can we do? So let us mix together and make a sambar. that is what Indian textile was always about.
Yeah, I think that's very charming. So yeah, so which means with every new connection and new as a wedding and a new family is coming together, they still look back at their origins.
Like Parsis when they came in,
yes,
and they
with
wanted
the fire.
They brought in the milk and they mixed the sugar. They said they will be with you.
Yeah,
that's it.
Thank you, Sreemathy, for this fund of information. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you all for watching. We've been talking about the history and the fascinating stories about how the Sungudi has traveled with the Saurashtra community from Saurashtra and Gujarat through the south through middle India, western India, and finally ended up in Tamil Nadu and got its glory and name that's called Madurai Sungudi. Thank you for watching.